Mercy, turn the music off. We're doing like a podcast, please. Big thing about mental health is that you can wake up and feel anxious and shit for whatever reason that may be. There doesn't need to be a big root cause as to why you're feeling that way. You get basically captured and you get kind of interrogated a little bit.
Interrogated? Is this like beating involved or just...
I probably can't say too much. Probably said too much already.
I witnessed you also, in a wheelchair, crying your eyes out. So that's...
Cheers, Dave. I remember waking up, trying to step onto the floor. I couldn't stand. I had maybe 200k left. And all those people that you speak about, those people, they're absolute fucking toilets, first and foremost. That doesn't mean if you're an arsehole, be an arsehole. It just means, be genuinely a good person.
A genuine bad person.
Yeah. But you know what? Nobody's a bad person. Nobody's a bad person. They've just fucking they've just got their own stupid shit going on.
You said that you want to inspire people. That was one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
But deep down, there should be something else. Like basically, maybe there is a fear that was bigger than fear of not doing it.
Yeah, fear of failure is always a big thing for me. I think also it's good to test yourself personally, and challenge yourself doing something especially kind of out of maybe what is your ordinary or what's your comfort zone, so to speak. And so obviously doing this world record was massively going to be out of my comfort zone because for me it was, I hadn't done any sort of like long distance running before, ultramarathon anyway. I think it did exactly what it should do. I had plenty of messages after it, people kind of saying, oh, I thought of you when I was running the other day and I was just going to stop after 6K and I did like 8K. And so little things like that. It's such a small thing that I can do that kind of, if it does inspire someone to do something or pushes someone to do something a little bit more. And I think it does. Like the whole reason I decided to do this was because I saw somebody else had done it and was like, oh, maybe I could do that. Maybe I've not done that sort of stuff before. Maybe I could do it. So it does. Like it equally, it's equally inspiring the people that have done that world record before or are doing anything like that. So yeah, it's inspiring to me. I hopefully then pass that on to people.
But failure, you said fear of failure. I mean, you didn't start it yet. You decided to do it. So what is the failure for you then?
Yeah, maybe obviously during it's the fear of failure. Prior to that, it's wanting to do something hard. Obviously, I was in the Marines, so we always did things that were kind of outside of our comfort zone, and we didn't necessarily choose to do them. We were kind of put in a position where we had to do them, and obviously that's out of your comfort zone naturally because you're doing something that's not necessarily something you even decided to do. So that's obviously hard. And I think obviously I've been out the Marines for quite a few years now. I think it's also just good to keep yourself on your toes and do something that's particularly hard and difficult. And also it's like as hard and as horrendous it is, you create incredible memories out of those sorts of events. Like obviously we've got like incredible memories from doing it, just like myself and you, David, and obviously the rest of the team and stuff like that. And it's stuff like that regardless, like everyone in those 5 days had their own little stories of stuff. And I remember Quincy speaking to me yesterday and he said like the police were coming along and obviously we were quite worried that the police might stop us and prevent us from continuing. And Quincy was saying about the fact that you and him put your cameras down and just started walking along obviously the motorway. And obviously that's even more suspicious. So they would have been even more confused, like what are you guys doing? But obviously we didn't have any problems with the police. They were great. But yeah, so like everyone had their own little...
We actually created problem for police because we walked to you guys while cameras are in a dark somewhere on the sand off the road. And then police said, okay, guys, just leave. And I'm like, shit, we can't leave. Yeah. Cameras. So we start walking and they're like, what the hell are you guys doing? I'm like, I think I dropped something. 1 second, sir. It's like, get out of here. Just took the camera. So yeah, I remember that. But it was a little bit more fun for us. I mean, obviously, yeah, there was a lot of pressure and stuff, but still there was a little bit of more fun for us than for you. Like, it's a good memory for you now, but I remember day one, it started so good. And then over the sudden, it just, for us at least, for us looking from aside, it was like a switch. You were fine, and then all of a sudden you are not. How was it the same, or your, let's say, downfall of the energy and everything? So reality sets in like very fast, or it was gradual process?
I think like I never thought past a checkpoint, so I never really thought, I never got overwhelmed. I never thought it wasn't possible, even when I was in the depths of how I was feeling. It never felt like it was not going to be possible. Obviously, there were certain times where I was being in a wheelchair in a hotel lobby and I was crying my eyes out. That happened on a few occasions. And I was saying to people, oh, there's no way. But it never really like crossed my mind that I would not finish it. But I think, yeah, it was, unfortunately, obviously, it was very like, it was like dogfight from basically 12 hours in, which it shouldn't have been really. But none of us expected it to be as hot as it was. And none of us expected kind of me to obviously get sunstroke on within 12 hours. But yeah, basically it became a dogfight from day one, which was not ideal considering you obviously had another 4 days to go off the back of that, and obviously was covering serious distance, and was obviously the environment wasn't changing. It wasn't like it was hot one day and then it was cool another day. Like you might get in the UK, it was continually hot for those 5 days. And obviously I gave myself obviously a window which was in between like holidays, and it was enough of a window to give myself another training platform to actually get through. So it like none of it, it was all kind of a little bit rushed, shall we say. But obviously luckily I had a very good support team that, to be honest, without that team there would have been no way I would have got through it.
We were actually afraid, like when the first day stopped, like when you finished, I'm like, man, like it looks like we're going home tomorrow, because you were visually were looking absolutely crushed. Like you couldn't walk, you just like vomited, and you can't take food in. I'm like tomorrow, like there's only like 5 hours left for him to recover. Like he probably gonna feel even worse in the morning.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, yeah, you slowly crawled into the car, and then you just went. How was your feeling after day? Were you had in your mind that, man, probably tomorrow will like this is it?
Day one was always I had in my mind of like, well, say day two, I suppose it is. Day two was always the day I had in my mind where I was like, I'm gonna get to run along Kite Beach. I'm gonna get to see loads of familiar faces. It's gonna be incredible. Super, super lucky. But day two ended up being, yeah, I was absolutely, I think everyone that saw me on day two was like, oh, this doesn't look very good. This is day two. This is where he should be his freshest. And I was definitely not fresh at all. But again, it just continually shows you just how capable the body is. And obviously that, you know, I'm not saying most people would, but like I reckon a lot of people, one might not have even done day one, but day two, with the feeling that I had, probably would have just called it a day and just been like, yeah, maybe it's not for me.
Mind me joining, guys? Hey.
From the start, obviously I had no energy, it was completely depleted. Anyway, we ran around 40k to get to Kite Beach, which obviously was supposed to be kind of a really exciting, happy time.
We can stop it.
Make sure they're aware that I won't be fucking weeping and cheering.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'll probably just cry. Where are we going? Oh.
Why I'm here is because Mike is a great human individual. He changed part of my life by creating an athlete gym, and obviously here to give back and support him.
Yeah, here to support Michael because he's obviously supported me on my fitness journey. He's been a very important, pivotal part of that.
Michael's an amazing guy. Trained with him for quite a few years now, and he's up there with the best of them. And it's only right to come down, support him, cheer him on this epic adventure that he's going on.
Me, the future that I see, and hard to not lose heart every time I fall. It's harder than you think to move past defeat when it feels like someone did you wrong. I'm moving on slowly. Surely I'm coming home.
Just want to say a massive thank you for all coming down. It means a hell of a lot. I've cried probably the most amount I've ever cried in the past like 36 hours. Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle so far. Like the heat is ridiculous. And yeah, I've been able to really keep anything down. But anyway, it means a lot you all come in, so thank you very much, and it will hopefully give me a little bit of energy for the rest of today. I've just got 2 marathons to do today to finish. So hopefully it'll give me a little bit of energy, but thank you very much.
I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Nah!
Michael, go run, smash it. You're capable, can do it.
Michael, you can do this, as you always tell us, one step at a time.
Remember that duck support is with you always.
Remember, you can do absolutely anything that you set your mind to, so go smash it. Michael, you inspire me every day to be the best that I can be. Keep going, I'm really, really proud of you. You inspire everybody around you. You're amazing.
Thank you for everything you're doing. You got this. I'm sorry.
Michael, you're inspiring everyone, you know, on socials, at the gym. It's an amazing challenge. A little bit crazy, but...
It's gonna get dark, but you can go darker. Keep going.
Okay, if we talk about Michael Logue and we take one experience out of your life, which is Royal Marines. So we take that out and we come back to the challenge. How much that would affect the challenge if you didn't have experience in Royal Marines?
I think quite a bit. Like, I think the Marines, like, as I say, you're in an environment, like, you come to the gym, you do a half marathon, you do a 5K, you put in the effort that you perceive as the maximum effort you can put in. You decide at whatever point you want to slow down, quit, or just stop, whatever you decide. The Marines, you have no option but to continue, regardless of how tired, cold, wet you are. Like, you continually push on. And obviously that builds up over time. That builds up over a long period of time of building that mental fortitude to just keep pushing on and keep persevering and not giving up. And I think, like, you don't get that. You don't get that in civilian life. You don't get that in your day-to-day life. Like, people don't have that. And obviously, again, I talk about it all the time, but it is continual. Like, it's a build-up of what people do in the gym. Is once they've done something that they perceived was maybe impossible for them, and they've done that, like, naturally the human instinct is to then look for the next thing and then to move on and move past. So that could be, as I say, I always say it, like a 5K. Don't think I'll be able to do that. Do a 5K. Oh, maybe I'll do the 10K. Oh, I'll do the 10K. It's like, oh, maybe I'll do Burge half marathon this year. And that's just like how it works. It's the same way, really.
Interesting. So basically, how long you've been in Marines?
I was in the Marines 5 years.
But again, yeah, you have to do what you've been taught to do, but there is still the quit option. Like person can
Of
say,
course.
okay, this
Yeah,
is
like
too much for me.
most, you start with 50 lads in training. We ended up with like 10 lads. So the dropout rate is huge in the Marines. People failing stuff, people getting injured, or people just quitting. So again, it's not, you don't just go into training and you get through training. The dropout rate is huge. So yeah, you still have to make that choice or want it enough to do it. So it's still a conscious decision to do it and to put yourself in that dark place and then continue to like persevere and push through. And I don't think everyone's got it, but I do think that you can train your mind as much as you can train your body. So I think it's an asset that, like, for me, and why I've done the stuff that I've done in sort of my fitness career, and why I've done all right and stuff, is because I have that mental kind of stamina, so to speak, that I can kind of push that little bit harder than, say, somebody else that's maybe not had the experiences that I've had in life.
So the biggest challenge, if you remember from Marines, can you remember something that comes a little bit close to what you did, or?
Yeah, so I think there's one experience. So we did a course called SERE, like Survive, Evade, Resist, Extract. It's like a 5-day course. Well, it's a 2-week-long course, but a 5-day exercise where you kind of on the run. You go on the run for like 5 days. You're evading human trackers, dog trackers, professional trackers, and you're basically trying to evade them at night. You lay up in the day, and you basically only have the clothes on your back and a liter of water, and that's kind of it. So you go on the run for 5 days. So we went on the run. First night, we ended up getting a dog tracker ended up coming behind us. We had to jump basically in a river, cross the river, got out the river. This was December, bear in mind, in the UK, freezing cold. That was it. We were wet for 5 days. So that, like, again, similar sort of thing, like, you have to move to the next checkpoint at night. You've got no choice. You have to lay up. You have to get on with it. You have to survive. There's no kind of wanting to quit in that scenario. And then at the end of the serial, at the end of that 5 days, you kind of get basically captured, and you get kind of interrogated a little bit. And you basically spend a long period of time kind of in that scenario as well, which again is just, again, it builds a mindset. So that's like a similar-ish experience. That's just one experience of many. But something like that kind of like obviously builds that kind of base.
Interrogated, is this like beating involved or just?
No, I don't think I can say too much.
Okay.
No, probably can't say too much. Probably said too much already.
Okay. But still, if you compare the Guinness record that just did,
yeah,
was it harder?
I don't know. Everything's hard in the moment, isn't it? And you forget how hard stuff is. That's the thing. That's genuinely the thing. Like, me and Taylor were reminiscing, like, at many points, especially towards the end of the world record, and you forget how bad it is at certain times, or like, you forget how bad it was at day 1, or you forget how bad it was at day 3. You forget how bad it was in training in the Marines, because we went through training together. You forget how bad these things were. Hence why we'll probably get onto, obviously, what we're moving on to next. But yeah.
Is the next still a secret, or?
Yeah, we won't reveal too much, but there will be another world record on the horizon. Yeah, it will be in the Middle East. So it's big, a lot bigger. A lot bigger.
So it won't be documentary film, it will be serious. Got it. What Royal Marines, as obviously in UK, it's a choice. It's not a draft or something. You decide to go there, right? Yeah. What was the reason? Because you probably knew what you, at least some point, at some level, what you are signing up for, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think like people always ask this question, and it's kind of like, I don't know if there wasn't a particular day that it switched in me and I was like, oh, I want to join the Marines. But I think an accumulation of things. I think I didn't want to go down the particular path that everyone went down, which was going to university, even though I did end up going down that route. I wanted to do something different. The military always kind of like caught my eye. My granddad was sort of ex-Navy. My uncle was a deep sea diver in the Navy. So they kind of always caught my eye. And obviously the Marines is always advertised as the kind of the elite sort of fighting force of the British forces. So for me, it was kind of, if I'm going to do something, I want to being the best of the best.
Usually it's always the leading cause is always patriotism. I want to fight. I want to go to the war. But yours was just push yourself.
I'll be honest. I don't think anyone that I would speak to from the Marines, I don't think many people would say it's because I want to fight for my country. I want to do that. Genuinely don't think that is. Like, I think you maybe find that once you're in the Marines, but I think you're there to fight for each other at the end of the day. Also, once you're kind of there, the people that you work alongside are like your brothers. You know, you would do anything for them. Like, I think you kind of see that with Taylor. Like, it's kind of that thing. Like, that's why it was obviously great having Taylor there, because Taylor's been in a deep, dark hole with me before, and he understands it. He understands how it goes. He's obviously experiencing this, obviously, as well, but he just gets it. And obviously, he'll do anything for me, and kind of likewise. And I think the brief before we even started, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but the brief before we started was kind of nobody pulls the plug on this other than Taylor. Like, if anybody pulls the plug, like, for whatever reason, Taylor can pull the plug. Everyone else, you don't have a say, basically. Or I could obviously pull the plug as well. But the main reason being because he knows I've seen him in a terrible, terrible state in training. His eyes rolling into the back of his head, him collapsing. And he's obviously seen me in similar situations. So we also know how far you can go. So, yeah. What was the question again?
Last time we did run together, I think I pissed myself. Collapsed.
No, Josh Patterson's thing in main.
Oh yeah, that as well. We did that as well.
And then, yeah, gave you a nice cold hot chocolate.
It is. I was in dire straits, and Corporal said to him, "Get him an electrolyte drink. It's what he needs most." And it was pitch black, and Michael poured a mint hot chocolate into a cold bottle of water for me, and gave me that whilst I was laying on the side of the trail. Didn't help, to be honest. My chance to get him back.
You said I witnessed you also, in a wheelchair, crying your eyes out. So that's
cheers, Dave.
So that was the reason when you break down. Is this the pain? Is this the psychological pressure? What forced your body into that state?
It's just it's pure exhaustion, like just completely exhausted, like mentally, physically, emotionally, everything all wrapped into kind of one. Obviously, like, you know, me and Maria have been together less than a year, and the plan wasn't to cry my eyes out in front of her on a daily occurrence during this record. I think that's quite a private thing to be able to kind of show your emotions. I'm not really that way inclined anyway. But I think it's just pure exhaustion.
Any regrets?
Yeah. Why? What am I doing? For what reason? I really do hope it does inspire people to do a bit more, because I'm in a whole other level of pain.
If you have a bank of experiences during times of voluntary struggle, if you push in or lean into the kind of scary, difficult experience in front of you, once you've done that multiple times and in different settings and scenarios with different people around you, you embed and reinforce that lesson that more often than not, things are cyclical. The worst times in the world that feel like they're never going to end eventually end if you can ride out the storm.
All part of the exhaustion, right? Like, your body is holding up. I know we've got this, but your body is holding up so well.
Deal with the lows, make good decisions as well. It's not just about being completely passive and waiting. You know, take care of yourself. Do the things that you can do to take care of yourself.
And you saw it, like, it's like a roller coaster. Like as I said before, it's like life. It is, you know, one checkpoint I'd be crying my eyes out. Next checkpoint I'd be laughing, joking. You know, I think there was one point, like, you guys left me. It was like day 4. We were deep into Abu Dhabi, and I was like, I need to run by myself for a bit. I ran. I like put this song on. I was just fucking singing my heart out to this song, just running along, like, loving life. Felt like I was motoring. I probably was running like 6-minute Ks, but felt like I was running like 3-minute Ks, having a great time. And then I would get to the checkpoint and I'd be like miserable. Like, it was just yeah, like it's just such a privilege to be able to do that. Like I was absolutely goosed, and I was putting my absolute giving everything to it, and it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. Like to even like now to think about it, to just be able to run for that long, run, walk, whatever you want to call it, for that kind of like length of time, for that distance is mental. It's mental what your body can do. Like really, like it still blows my mind.
But isn't there an opposite of that you might overestimate yourself and really break your body, and that's it?
Yeah, I suppose there probably is. I think I think the pain that I got when I was on the world record, obviously the sickness was never part of the plan. The tib anteriors, which is basically your tib anteriors are kind of on the outside of your shin. And before we set off for the world record, or even in training, Taylor said, guarantee you, he said your tib anteriors, they will go. I spoke to another guy, Fergus Crawley, who just did 10 Ironmans in 10 days across 10 cities in the UK. I just did a podcast with him recently. Same thing, his tib ants when he did his, he said that was like considerable pain. Like Taylor just did a race recently. I just messaged him the other day. I was just messaging him. And he was like, he said, my tib ants went on like day 2 of this race. He was like, it's fucking horrendous, isn't it? I was like, yeah. It basically feels like you've got fractures in your legs. Like that's the best way to describe it. It feels like you've got broken legs, basically. So I already knew that pain was coming, and I got it in my right leg pretty early on. I'm not used to this kind of stuff. Maybe like day 2, and that was pretty bad, obviously. But Lizzie managed it well, and then day 3 or day 4, my left one went, so I bet both tib ants went.
How about painkillers? They didn't work, or you were just on a higher threshold, you couldn't get any more
painkillers?
Yeah,
we ended up being on like a bit of a cycle. Like it was like every checkpoint, it was like I was like checking with Taylor. I was like, when was the last set of painkillers I had? When can I have salt tablets? It was like salt tablets, painkillers, like anti-sickness tablets, because I was obviously being sick. So I was like, when can I have the next set of fucking painkillers? When can I do that? But I don't think it ever subdued really the pain. Like, to be fair, the pain just got worse and then got worse the days afterwards as well. So, but you know what? Like, I won't live with any regrets of what I've done. I never live with any regrets anyway in terms of whatever I do. So I think, see what the body can do. You never know when it's going to be your last day. So you never know.
Yeah, sometimes doing those things, you're bringing it closer.
That's also true, yeah.
You
were the closest to death, actually, Ab,
Sorry?
You were the closest to death. You nearly got hit by a truck, so.
Almost.
Yeah.
When I film, it's the same thing. I just turned off all the guards. Being so private, how you manage to, first of all, film the whole thing, like, you're a little bit of introvert, so basically like filming that, also how you manage being always with people, because that's the quite opposite of what the natural state of yours will be, right?
Yeah.
So how you do that, and why you decided to film, that's also interesting.
Why did I decide to
you did the social media, but to do the film and so on, like what was
a super cool thing to be able to look back on? Like all this social media bullshit that you see in this day and age, like I think it's all, never been a massive fan of it really before I moved to Dubai. I always thought it was just nonsense, hated being in front of the camera. Now it's like I can, like, even just before we did this, I was going through and I was looking at like the reels that we made on Instagram with Quincy, and like the content you made of like the journey, and like how cool is that I like can reminisce and like look back and like watch that, like, and be able to see it, and it's just there. It's on a platform for me to be able to see and for other people to be able to see. So yeah, it's like, I don't know, I think I've just become, obviously, like, I don't really I don't post that much stuff, so I'm not like a content creator. I don't like post loads of stuff, but doing something like that, which is quite worthy of maybe posting, I maybe feel it's just cool to look back on. Great memories that I'll be able to show my kids one day and all that sort of stuff. So.
But the reels are one thing. Film is like, what is the benefit of the film for you then, versus the reels that you can quickly just look at your phone?
It's just great to see it through somebody else's eyes. I got to see the film through what you saw, And also there was so much of what I don't see, so much of like Lizzie, Marie, Tund, you know, all your guys' experience of what's going on behind the scenes. I didn't see any of that. Everyone had their own experience. Whilst I was running, it's not like people were doing nothing. Everyone was doing something at some point, you know, whether they were rushing to McDonald's to get whatever food I had ordered, or getting me an iced ollie from the petrol station, or trying to find me hot water, or me whinging about nonsense. So I don't know. I think the reels were all just kind of put together. The film was, again, I'd seen your work and your work's incredible, and just getting to kind of see, I don't know, it's just quite cool to see. Like, it was incredible. Incredible to kind of see the film. I saw Mark's, who obviously did his Guinness World Record, which was incredible. Obviously a lot longer work he did than I did. And just nice. Like, I was equally, off the back of seeing Mark sing, I had like no plans to do anything anytime soon. After seeing Mark sing, I was inspired. I was like, that is fucking really, really good. And it inspired me to be like, oh, you know what? Even though I've just done something pretty cool, I was like, maybe I'll do something else now.
4, 3, 2, 1. Bash!
Courage. Fear is natural, and we all experience it. Courage is not giving in to that fear, but getting on with the job in spite of it. Determination. You're going to be set some incredible challenges. The key to success is always believing in yourself and never doubting you can do it. Unselfishness.
I also see a pattern here as well, is that people who, especially in sport, who do something like that, push themselves so hard that some people will say they're just crazy, torture themselves like that. But also I think it comes from some life experiences as well. You talk about mental health a lot. And I think I'm yet to find somebody who has a very, I mean, everyone has their challenges, but let's say somewhat stable life, and who decided over the sudden to do this. Something there was happening. Somebody came from drug addiction. Somebody came from really bad childhood, or somebody came from mental health issues. And then that's kind of the switch. When I talked with Mark, I asked him this question, and he said that very clearly. He said, look, this kind of is like a drug addiction never leaves you. It's just, this is a substitution. And I feel that too. Whoever had that is just, you substitute one obsession with a more healthy one, basically.
Yeah.
So what was your experience?
Yeah, like I don't have any freaking massive trauma, so to speak. I can't remember what the start line of the film was. Anyway, but I don't particularly have any trauma from my sort of childhood. I had a great childhood, super lucky, super privileged. You know, I had kind of everything that I ever wanted or needed, luckily, in life. And obviously I've had my own like struggles and I think that a big thing about mental health is that there doesn't need to be a big cause as to why you maybe feel the way you do. I think people get bogged down by the fact that they feel lesser and they feel like they can't speak out because they don't have that form of trauma. They don't have something where somebody's died or they've been in a real bad position. You can wake up and feel anxious and shit for whatever reason that may be. There doesn't need to be a big root cause as to why you're feeling that way. And I think people don't speak out about stuff for sometimes because they're like, oh, but he's got that big issue going on and he's got this and he's got that going on in his life. So I should feel okay. Like that's not the case. Like everyone feels the way they feel. Everyone is well in their right to feel how they feel. So yeah, I think obviously I had like you know, a struggle in my life where couldn't really comprehend how I was feeling, had like a bit of like a bereavement kind of within the family, was drinking a lot, was going out a lot, was young, stupid, maybe, so to speak, and didn't know how to deal with my emotions. And obviously I went through that, learned the hard way, but also learned a lot in terms of like how now when I deal with my own emotions, I'm like quite okay with that sort of stuff. I'm also quite well aware that there's dark times ahead, and those dark times will come regardless of, because that is life. You know, life is full of ups and downs, and it's going to be continuation of that. But also knowing that, you know, you just need to sometimes just fucking like endure it for as long as you need to kind of come out the other side of it, and keep persevering, keep working hard. That's what like Project 7 Emirates was. Project 7 Emirates was about persevering the pain, the darkness, but also knowing that like it's going to come to an end at some point regardless. Like there's light at the end of the tunnel, you'll get there and you'll finish it, and you'll look back on it and be like, 5 months down the line, like we are now, and you'll be like, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe we'll do something a little bit crazier. That is mental health really in a nutshell, I feel like, from my experience anyway. So obviously everyone has their own kind of experiences with it, and probably everyone has their own ways of dealing with stuff. But I think just being understanding of the fact that you can feel shit, and if you feel shit, that's totally okay. You don't need a big horrendous backstory as to why you feel terrible about whatever's going on in your life.
What was the darkest thought you had during the run, 5 days?
I think, luckily, that's one good thing I would say about myself. I don't think I can switch my brain off quite just fucking, but you have to bear in mind I was running for 5 days basically, so you have to be able to switch your brain off somehow. I didn't get any particularly dark thoughts. I think was absolutely exhausted, so I didn't have any kind of conscious being to think other than the fact that like I was just in immense pain at certain points. And I think the worst one was day 3, as I said. Like I woke up, we're in this really nice hotel in Abu Dhabi. I can't even remember where it was. It was so nice.
Yeah. With the
on the
beaches.
beach. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
oh my God, yeah.
So nice.
I didn't want to leave.
It was honestly so nice. We literally got in there. We had probably about 2.5, 3 hours sleep, and then I had to get up and go again. I remember waking up, trying to step onto the floor. I couldn't stand. I literally physically couldn't stand. The pain was just so immense. And I was just like, fuck. I was like, so fucked. Like, I can't even physically stand. I can't remember how much I had left. I had maybe 200k left, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. And I was like, well, this is
200.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how much it was. Like all blurs, but it was something about that.
Do you have any regrets, like going back?
In the world record?
Life, in whole life. Like, is there anything you would change?
No, nothing. I don't think you should ever have any regrets in life. I think everything kind of builds you to where you need to be. I think everything in my life that I've done has led me to where I am now. And I would say, you know, like, happiest I've ever been in my personal life, you know, fitness, business, everything. I don't regret anything. I've never regretted anything that I've ever done. I don't think you should ever live with those regrets. I think if there's something that you want to do, go ahead and do it. But once you've decided that that's not for you for whatever reason, live with it, move on. Like, what's the point? Yeah, I think as well, like, people are scared to make big changes. They're scared to move countries. They're scared to change careers and go after what they want. Don't be, just do it. If you're passionate and you work hard enough for anything, you'll be successful in it. I genuinely believe that. Like, I genuinely do believe that. I feel like you can do whatever you want to do in life. You set the limitations on yourself, and if you decide not to do it, that's on you. But if you decide not to do it, don't live with regret, because what's the point? That is life.
But people, when look at this, those podcasts, and I always wanted to do, like, my biggest thing is I see those documentaries like Manosphere or others when they talk about masculinity, about being a man, and so on.
These are little boys. They're not men.
So yeah, that's like, they usually show the problem, but nobody shows the solution. Yeah. You know? So what is the thing that in this industry, and usually now being a man, that you think is going to the wrong direction or needs to a little bit of different touch?
Yeah, I think all those people that you speak about, those people, they're absolute fucking toilets, first and foremost. Yeah.
But they're getting popular and popular, and that's
because I think the more controversial you are, the more you the algorithm picks you up and puts you on this platform. To be a man, I don't think there's a clear definition of what to be a man is. I think whatever. I think that's like people would say like being in the Marines, oh, you're super manly, you're super this, you're super that. Like, no, like I think you don't really know how to describe it. I think like you would just be whoever you want to be, especially in this day and age. Like you'd be a fridge if you wanted to be a fridge. You'd be a bloody washing machine. I identify as a washing machine. I think and I don't think you look at like all these manly men that maybe like they're the ones that end up like true kind of inner strength that don't have that voice to speak out, and kind of they're the ones that end up like killing themselves. Those the epitome of that kind of that man, and that's pretty terrible. I think I used to I used to think to be a man it would be to be sort of big, strong, to be like aggressive, to be kind of fast in running, to be a person that doesn't speak about feelings, to be not particularly smiley, quite straight. That's not the definition of a man. Like a man is whatever you want it to be. Like you should just be happy in whatever you're doing. And yeah.
What is 1-2 things that right now you think if you just go to the portal and you sit next to that younger boy, let's say, or I don't know what age was that, teenager, or what 1-2 things you can give to that person, and that will make life easier. And you, knowing yourself, you knew that if you get that there and then, that would make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think like mental health is so complicated, isn't it? Because also, again, like when I talk about the fact before, I was saying like sometimes you don't need a catalyst as to why you feel the way you feel. And I think sometimes having a catalyst is almost kind of easier because you can kind of like deal with that, you understand that. Whereas sometimes if you don't have a catalyst, you don't really have a reason to why you're feeling the certain way you're feeling. Having a conversation with another person and speaking, sometimes like there doesn't like seem to be like any kind of solution to that, because there's nothing really to solve. And maybe there is and maybe there isn't, but I don't mean like there's anything to solve. But I think advice I would give to my younger self would be good times are coming, go after what you want, and be open and be vulnerable. Like be able to be open and vulnerable. Being open and vulnerable doesn't mean you're weak. It mean, like the connections I have with the people that I have and the people that I can be most vulnerable with are probably people that are the epitome of manly men, which are like people from the Marines. I have like a deep rooted connection with all of those guys that I could probably be more vulnerable with them than kind of anyone, because I know like I don't know, you just get it. It's just I don't really know how to describe it. So I think those sorts of things, yeah, go after what you want, be open, be vulnerable, and I can't remember what the other one was that I said, but I think that's kind of what I would say. Yeah, and good times are coming. Like, yeah, that's it. I think, dark times never last. Like those good old quotes, like they don't. Like dark times do not last. But you're fucking in a depth. You could be in the depths of it, and it like something good is coming. Just fucking endure that pain for long enough, and you'll get there, 100%.
And you're never alone, and that is what we've experienced this week. When you're going through really dark times, there are always going to be people around you who fight like hell to help get you to where you need to be. Don't forget that, and that's something that is an important lesson that these challenges and events hopefully instill. The great joy that comes from helping in some small way facilitate what will ultimately be one of the, I don't know, top 10 experiences of Logue's life.
The whole world record was like life, as in the sense of like it's a roller coaster. Life has ups and downs, it has highs and lows, it has good times and bad times, and it just shows you that throughout the worst times that you may be going through, there is always something good on the other side of it. You just have to be willing to endure that bad time for long enough to see that the good is going to come out of it. I'm a massive advocate for mental health. Like I've had my own struggles and all that sort of stuff, and I know Chris even spoke about his.
survived 2 suicide attempts, so to end it I saw no way out that was more positive than taking my life in that moment. Make sure you're fucking fit enough to survive, because the only reason I survived that extreme drug overdose was because my body was strong enough to handle it.
You sometimes do really just have to endure really difficult, hard times, but there will always be light at the end of the tunnel, and there will always be something good to come out of it.
When you train people, like people come to you to train, and many of your students basically go also try to be in hierarchs or some sort of competition, push themselves, right? What you did in terms of the challenge now, and you're going to do something bigger soon enough, that definitely inspires people. But somebody new that just discovering you, do you think it can also send a message, man, this guy is crazy, he's going to break me?
What do you mean?
Well, if they see that you're pushing yourself that much, and I'm looking for a trainer, I'm looking for a place to train, and I see that the owner of the trainer is just doing crazy things, do you think it also scares people? Like, if I go there, he might just...
I think everyone's intimidated by stuff. Like I still get people continually saying, "Oh, I don't think I'll be fit enough." Like everyone's got to start somewhere. Like the best thing about this gym is that, like, all shapes, all sizes, it really doesn't matter. People are like, it's catered in a way, and it's amazingly catered in a way that like everyone and anyone can do stuff, and if they can't, it can be substituted for other exercises. And that's a bit of an issue for them, not necessarily for us. Obviously, we need to make it be advertised in a way, but I guarantee anyone that stepped through this door will feel that, you know, they're capable and would want to come back. I really don't think, and like to think anyway, that everyone's experience when they come through these doors is exactly that. It kind of gives them that feeling of, yeah, okay, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can try and do that. And that's the thing with all of fitness, you can progress everything. Like fitness is a never ending journey. Like it's the best thing. It's just never ending. You are continually trying to better yourself, continually trying to be better. Like, you know, like that's a pretty incredible thing. Like as you get older, you can continually try and be a better version. And, you know, a lot of people that come maybe through the gym, a lot of the people that have never done anything, like have never done any competitions, never did any competitions when they're at school, you know, were particularly maybe not even active. And like, how unreal is it that people that get to come through these doors, get to a starting point, and then like their end point is that they're going and doing a Hyrox, or they're doing it at any other competition, like any competition, any event. Like, great. Fitness is unreal. Like I like, obviously fucking business is hard and stuff is, and you have your daily stresses, and sometimes I'm like, fuck this. But sometimes when you see the end product and you see what people are doing and see what people get out of it, it is a fucking buzz. Like I still, after every time I train, I get absolutely buzzed. Endorphins like just feel unreal. Like I still get that. I've been training since I was like fucking 8, you know, maybe a little bit older. I've been training for over 20 years, and I still get an absolute buzz when I finish a session. I feel fucking incredible. My mum always used to say to me, she was like, if ever I was miserable and around the house, she'd be like, just go out for a run. Just go out for a run. I would go out for a run, and I would come back and I would be fucking just on top of the world again. Just great. And obviously that's not a solution to solve all your problems, but it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. So why not do it?
Couple of very quick questions and we're done. What you value most in people?
Oh, great question. Do you know what? Like people that you can 100% rely on and trust. I genuinely think that like they're the two things. Like you don't need a lot of people in your life. You really don't. But you need some people that you can rely on, and people that you can call upon, and people that you can trust. And I feel like I've always had that in life. I've got, you know, a couple of guy best friends from back home. I've got a few girl best friends from back home, and I've got like a few best friends out here. And like, I can, you know, whatever's going on in life, I can guarantee I can call upon them, like in any scenario. And you saw that in the world record. Like James and Evan like coming out nearly every single day, like driving like 3-4 hours, like coming out like in the middle of the night, and all the other guys that came out and supported, like Henry and Dave Kelly and whoever else was there, I can't remember now. And all these people like continually like being there, and people that you just like, I think what I don't like in people, and I always say this, is people that put on a bravado and then behind the scenes are not necessarily what they claim to be. Like I am like as straight as you get. Like if I'm in a bad mood, unfortunately, even in the gym, like you won't see me put on a performance. You will not see me like friggin' teaching a class and being completely different. I will still be professional. I will still do everything that I can, but you know, you won't see an extra level of energy that's not there. You will get kind of my full authentic self, and maybe that's a little bit of a bad thing, especially when it comes to a professional scenario. But maybe it's not, because actually we're all people. This is a people-facing business, and it's a community-driven business. If you feel like shit, you know what? It's okay to feel like shit. And maybe I'll work on that. Maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution. But people that are just authentically themselves, and by authentically being yourself, that doesn't mean if you're an arsehole, be an arsehole. It just means, you know, be genuinely a good person.
But if you're a genuinely bad person.
Yeah. But you know what? Nobody's a bad person. Nobody's a bad person. They've just fucking like, they've just got their own stupid shit going on. Like anybody that's ever rude or is bad, it's just because they've got like something going on in their life. Nobody is bad. You know what I mean? Like nobody's bad. I genuinely believe that. Whenever I get someone and they're a bit like off or a bit thingy, I'm like, something else going on there, but like I'm not going to delve into it for you because I don't even know you.
And how much you believer on second chances? How forgiving you are?
Interesting questions, Taylor. What you're trying to get at. I think people get a chance. Yeah, people should get an opportunity, and then once that's kind of gone, see ya. Like whatever, done with it. Like you only get so many chances. I feel like everyone deserves a chance. Everyone can fuck up once or whatever, but then once you've done that once, see you later. Like, I got no time for it. And also, as you get older in life, you care less about what people think. You also don't need to entertain negative shit. You don't need to be around it. You can pick and choose who you be around. And again, that's why I say, like, you don't need a lot of people in your life. Just need like a few good ones that you can rely on. And obviously then having friends as well. But people that you truly let in, like Marie, like always says to me, like she came to the gym before we got together, and she always used to think I was super like straight and just like not really got much of a sense of humor. Maybe I still don't. Maybe she still thinks that. But yeah, like not everyone gets to see the level. Not everyone gets to see. Everyone gets a base level of me. You only get to unlock that next level if you're in my circle, which not everyone's there, but obviously a lot of people are. But yeah.
And what is one thing you will never forgive?
One thing
you'll never forgive. You don't get second chance after this. If there is, I don't know. I'm just curious.
I'm just breaking trust.
Breaking trust.
Trust is a big thing, isn't it?
Trust is very important.
Trust is very important. Being able to rely on people.
And very last thing, anything like what is, you teach these people and everything, right? So somebody who is not consistent or somebody who wants to improve his life, you already gave advice, but one thing that you will give from like one small step that everyone can take, and that will give some sort of a really good push. One thing, like if one small thing you can implement in your life to make it better, what would it be?
Pick something, be consistent at it, get on the journey and enjoy it. That's it, like super simple. Everyone's after the quick, fast, now, fucking all the time. Nobody wants to just be consistent, do the work, see how you can build up. Like, that's all that got me to where I am in fitness. That's all that got me through the world record. That's all that gets you through your own work, business, anything else. Be consistent, keep showing up, and, you know, see where you're at in a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, you know? Like, that's all I've done. And that's all that I've only been in Dubai 3 years. I think always people think I've been here for ages. I've not, and I've like done it all kind of in a very short space of time. But even the world record, if I hadn't have been consistent with my training, if I hadn't have been, I didn't miss a single session for the 10 weeks. Only for the last 2 weeks I skipped sessions because obviously my injuries. But for 10 weeks I didn't miss a single session. I was on it every single day. Like no excuses, like getting it done. Like that's why it's good to have something to aim for. But yeah, just be consistent and just see where you're at in a year. Because what people do is they do it in the gym here. They'll do 2 weeks of consistency, week off, 2 weeks of consistency, 2 weeks off, 3 weeks of consistency, 1 week off. Like it doesn't need to be a lot. People think that intensity is like the way to get there. It's not. Just consistent efforts. Like the way that the stuff is programmed here is that you don't need to do it all. You don't need to be killing yourself, but be consistent over a year. Like you will naturally get better, be better.
And same with business, right?
Same with business, same with everything in life, anything.
And people forget one more thing, that it starts with very, yay, let's go. But in everything, even if the things that you absolutely love and that's your life, there are moments that like, I'm tired of this shit.
Yeah.
And that's when consistency shows up.
Yeah. Discipline over motivation.
Great. Thanks, man. Anything else you want to add, or?
No, just watch out. Next challenge is coming. Let's go. The band's getting back together.
And my favorite, Bosch, right?
Bash.
Bash.
Let's go.
Thanks, brother.
Cheers,
Thank
David.
you.
Appreciate it.